Hi, everyone, and welcome to The Breakouts, a podcast where we interview extraordinary founders that are on the rise and then package the insights from their interviews into short 20-minute episodes. I'm your host, Akkshay Khoslaa. Now, season 1 of The Breakouts is focused on emerging verticals, areas that we think are underexplored, but have the ability to be huge over the next few years. Areas like Web3, health tech, fintech, AI ML, prop tech, and so much more. As some of you may know, we're a fairly new podcast, so some of these episodes might be a little rough around the edges, but they'll still feature amazing entrepreneurs for you to learn from, and they'll still be packed with actionable insights that you can take away to build your business. Now, just before I introduce today's guest, go ahead and show us some love by following us on Twitter at The Breakouts Pod and subscribing to this YouTube channel. We're really trying to make the best podcast out there for aspiring entrepreneurs, a podcast that we wish we would have had when we were building our first company. But in order to get there, we're going to have to be iterative and improve on this podcast, just like you would iterate on a product that you're launching. And the number one thing we need for iteration is your feedback. So any advice, tips, constructive criticism, whatever you have, give it to us. We're all ears. The number one place to do that is going to be our Discord community, which you can find the link to in the description below. And I think that's everything. So without further ado, here's today's guest. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Breakouts. Today, we have with us one more time, Eric Parker and Ethan Parker, two brothers who co-founded Giddy and recently raised a $8 million seed round for it. Now, Giddy operates at the intersection of crypto and DeFi. And in our previous episode, in episode 1, Eric and Ethan told us about the story behind Giddy and how they think about winning the industry. This episode, we're going to talk about strategies, tactics, and hacks that some of you aspiring entrepreneurs can take away and use to build your business as well. The way that we're going to carve up this episode is into 4 main sections. The first section is going to be about product and how you two think about making product decisions. The second episode is going to be about distribution, how you guys think about acquiring customers. The third is going to be fundraising. And the last one is going to be about operationalizing your business. I'm a bit of a nerd for this, but I love hearing how founders are making these little efficiency hacks to make sure they hit their goals. So to start us off, for those of our listeners that might have missed the first episode, could you guys give us a brief few sentence summary about what Giddy is and what problem you guys are trying to solve?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having us. It's been a lot of fun. So Giddy is at its core, is a crypto wallet. It's self-custodied, meaning that our users own their keys and the company does not. Our main focus, our goal is to provide access to decentralized finance or DeFi to everybody. And DeFi gives us the opportunity to use our crypto, put it to work, earn yield on the blockchain. Currently, it is almost inaccessible to everybody. It's very difficult to do technically, it's very risky. So we're trying to build a product that takes out the difficulty, the risk, the cost, the time, and really makes it as easy as 3 taps on a mobile device to start earning yield on your crypto.
Yeah, and it's all on native mobile, iOS and Android.
That's awesome. For our listeners who might have missed the first episode, definitely go check it out. These guys dropped a lot of great insights into the industry, a lot of great insights about their business. It was really a treat to learn from. Now, to get us started with this second episode here, let's start talking a little bit about product and product decision-making. From the time you learned that this problem exists, how did you go about building conviction in it to the extent that you guys said, hey, we're going to go all in on this and build a startup?
Yeah, I think one of the easiest things to look at in DeFi land, I'm spacing the name of the website, but there's a tracker, like the DeFi global tracker, if you will. And it talks about the total value locked or like the total market of DeFi and how big it is. And at the height of DeFi I'm trying to remember, like even the last few months before the downturn, we're talking about a crypto market of around $3 trillion. A
little under, yeah.
And,
wow.
and even a DeFi market of, let's see, I'm trying to remember, at times almost $1 trillion or 800 million.
If I remember right, it was more like 300 billion.
Oh, sorry. I'm getting my M's and B's mixed up. Hundreds of billions. So you're talking about something that's worth hundreds of billions of dollars, yet it's extremely hard to access. Wow, that is a disparity, that there's opportunity there. And especially when you go through and you make a MetaMask account, you on-ramp, and then you lose money to fees, you lose money to rug pulls, which Anybody who's really degened it out has lost money to rug pulls. One of my first like DX sale forays on the Binance Smart Chain was I lost a decent little chunk of BNB, and I learned a lesson, but that didn't deter me. I was like, this is fun. Can't wait till next time. So it's like, so to me, it's as simple as hundreds of billions in opportunity, horrible user experience. There's something there.
I really, that answer a lot. It answers the nuts and bolts of how to rationalize what the opportunity is. I think from coming at it from a little bit of a different angle, I think that our conviction, at least mine, it was hard earned by a decade plus in the industry. So being a software developer myself, working on mobile apps, trying to start up my own side projects all the time, I really learned what it took to build a solution to a problem that matters. Not only the problem has to matter, but the solution has to matter. So having been in the industry for long enough, I think I developed an eye for opportunities to make things a little bit easier. I'm constantly thinking about how to make a mobile app easier to use, fewer taps, cleaner instructions, more value and less effort. So when I came across this space, it was just absolutely ringing all the alarms in my head that says, it shouldn't be this hard. It does not have to be this difficult. I think it's easy a lot of times. I did this, especially as like a junior developer, to just accept reality, accept the fate of having to put in a lot of effort. Like this sucks and it's supposed to suck. So it takes some practice to learn where there is an opportunity to improve an experience. And I think that, yes, the nuts and bolts, the math, the mechanics of the opportunity, they're absolutely there. But in order to recognize it first, I think you have to put in the effort that it takes to solve problems, to recognize where some of these opportunities to optimize something exist.
Really cool. And once you guys understood that this problem existed, did you guys like go out, interview users as well? I know you talked about looking at the data and the data spoke for itself, right?
Yeah.
But did you guys go talk to users before building?
Oh man,
That's a really good point.
I
We
love
talked to
this.
people who wanted to be users, but couldn't be.
I love this question
Right.
because I've had experiences where I've built a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. And I've had experiences where I've built a solution to a problem that does exist. So
For like a million people per minute.
exactly,
Existed for, which is the PS5 when he was working at Walmart. But
generally speaking, if you're going to start a business, you should have people first who have that problem. I think Ethan was going to talk about that, right?
oh, sure. Early on, we had a local angel investor get a bunch of money stuck into a DeFi protocol. He basically had a friend that showed him how to get into DeFi, but not really how to get out. And so a bunch of money was stuck in this thing that stopped yielding and he couldn't get at it anymore. And he basically found Eric on a local crypto discussion forum that said, and he said, hey, I have this issue. Is there any way that you could help me out? And so Eric was able to like programmatically access the blockchain, get his money out for him. And then that actually, part of that money became our first investment. He said, here's a bunch of crypto. Why don't we start a company together? We're like, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. So in this case, we found the people first and then started building the tech to solve a problem.
Certainly.
Really interesting. Let's move on and talk a little bit about distribution. I think distribution is just so interesting, especially in crypto. How do you guys think about acquiring get users?
Yeah. Another really interesting question, because like you said, crypto, it adds a layer of complexity and kind of newness on there. So I was going to say traditional crypto, this has been around for 3 or 4 years. Usually in DeFi land, what happens is you find a community of users who are interested in the same kind of problem or the same kind of tech. You jump into a Discord or a Telegram, you start talking to people, and then you gain the conviction from that to invest, to go buy an NFT or a crypto token. And then you start to make friends and you start investing together and moving around. So Ethan and I, we both have those experiences as native crypto users, as degens ourselves. That's how we started gathering a following and gathering users for this. Was in our local communities, we've made connections with people that we knew were into crypto, explained the problem we were trying to solve, explained where we were at, and started really the grassroots of this is Discord and Twitter and conferences that we go to here, meeting people in person in our local community. There's a power and authenticity that comes from meeting people in person, chatting with them in Discord, that I think is the core and the root of this company. So because it's a crypto company, the way that we've started gathering users is just different. And honestly, from here on out, we're going to be employing a lot of strategies that everyone else uses. But I think that it starts with a heart and soul of a good product, a good community. Basically, once you have a handful of people who are really excited about a product, you can scale that.
Yeah. And even before we embarked on the product path and like the investment side of this company, we released our own like coin on the Binance Smart Chain, and we were in Telegrams and we were in Discords and we were chatting with people. And we didn't set out to solve this problem at that time. We were just launching our own coin for fun, but we learned little bits and pieces along the way of just, oh, I hate gas. I hate the fiat on-ramp fees. I hate the this and that about DeFi. And these are things we had experienced ourselves. And so it all rang true.
Really interesting. I love how you articulate it in terms of, hey, start community first. It seems like that works really well for a lot of crypto projects. I'm curious, what about the next step? What are some thoughts that you have there? Because it seems like a lot of people will start community first. They'll build their crypto product. And eventually the next step into building a network effect, building virality, will be to launch some sort of token. Have you guys thought about that? Is it on the radar in any way?
Oh yeah. So we launched Giddy coin in April of this year. So
there we go.
Yeah. So that already does exist. And we have a Discord with a few thousand people in it. And that's been part of our story, but we try to de-emphasize that part of our story. We say the token itself is infrastructure. It enables one-tap staking in our mobile app. It enables some of this to the user, gasless transactions and stuff like that. So we call it infrastructure instead of the focal point of what we're doing.
And the reason for that, the state of running a crypto business is a gray area. The government has come out in support and also in aggression towards certain crypto businesses that are run poorly, that are run as a pump and dump scheme. And of course, we want to support an ecosystem that is safe, that's navigable, that is not just absolutely going to wreck everybody who touches it. But because all these things are true, we had to approach the token first from a technology standpoint. It's infrastructure in our app. And then after that, we really needed to find a way to plug it in to the platform so that the Giddy token, you can use it in the app to stake into protocols. It's what drives and powers one-tap staking. But the larger point here is that yes, the token exists. Yes, we absolutely want adoption of that token. But the way that we are forced to go about it is a little bit of a roundabout path because there's some very specific rules that the SEC has for securities, how they operate, what they are, that we are cognizant of. We started this from day one with a law firm, with a legal team consulting us on how to press forward with this token that's really important to the tech. So anyway, that's certainly part of it, but we definitely see it a little differently from other crypto companies right now.
Let's talk a little bit more about the token from a tokenomics perspective. What can a user do if they hold the token, and what is their incentive to purchase the token?
Yeah, sure. So the incentive to purchase the token is really tightly coupled with its functionality in the app. So in the Giddy app, you can hold Giddy token and you can use it as an input to any other protocol. The way that we've written our smart contracts and the way we've written that token, it allows you to use Giddy to stake into the USDC, Curve, Balancer, these protocols that we will swap the token for you, stake it for you. We handle gas payments. It allows for one-tap staking where the alternative is this 14-step process that's awful and risky. So the incentive to hold the token is that you can use it in the app for staking. There's also opportunities to provide liquidity to the Giddy trading pools, the Giddy liquidity pools, and earn fees that are a part of that liquidity pool DEX system. So it's more of it runs the platform rather than just being a single asset that you just hope the price goes up and down.
So if we think about the Howey test, right, and the two main conditions that exist, and for those of our listeners that aren't familiar, you can go look up the Howey test. It's basically how you can determine whether a token will be deemed a security or not. There's a lot of interpretation involved, but two of the most important conditions there, right? The first one talks about, hey, if there is a central authority that is responsible for this asset appreciating, then it's a security. Hence, a lot of tokens will be completely decentralized. And the second is, what is the primary purpose of this asset? Is it going to appreciate? Is that why you're buying it? Or are you buying it more to use as a utility? And if it's a utility, then it cannot be a security in some cases. And it seems like you guys more fall into the second bucket. Is that correct? Or are you also decentralized as well?
Oh man, I could really go into a lot of details here. It's one of my weirdly favorite topics to discuss. And we've also just spent inordinate amounts of time and money talking about this.
So the only hilarious detail I would like to add about the Howey test is you can also think of it as Florida man creates securities law. About oranges. So
I don't know.
That's all I have to say about the Howey test.
For people who didn't know about this, the Howey test derives from in the 1930s, there was an orange farmer in Florida who wanted to expand his business, and he started taking money from people. And some of these people lost their money and they were mad about it. So the SEC came up with this framework to determine what exactly is a security and who's allowed to invest. So the Howey test says it's an investment of money in a common enterprise with an expectation of a return based on the efforts of others. So the last two prongs of the Howey test are what you're talking about. An expectation of return. The reason for the Giddy token is we needed a way to facilitate one-tap transactions. So we're arguing that it's more of a utility than it is just a vehicle for wealth accumulation. And then the efforts of others, there's a lot of work that has been done by the community at large to create these. There's something known as an EIP. It's a standard. It's a very technical thing. It's a kind of an interface for how different code can talk to each other. But there's a lot of EIPs out there that have been developed that are open source. They're owned by the Ethereum Foundation. We're developing our own EIP. We're going to add it to the Ethereum Foundation. We've discussed doing a DAO to provide more control to the DAO structure over what happens with the token itself. But the really important things are the token it's a fixed supply. So we as a company cannot mint or burn it, which means that we cannot arbitrarily change the price. It is meant by and large to be a utility on the platform to facilitate transactions rather than just be one single point where a value might accumulate or go away. So there's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of really dense technical analysis you can do on this. The key takeaways for us in the Giddy token is that it facilitates transactions on the platform, and the token itself is as simple as you can possibly get. The tokenomics, it's a fixed supply. There's no mint, there's no burn. It's meant to, we launched it out into the marketplace and said, do what you will. Users who think there may be value, great. Users who don't, great. We're not going to do anything to manipulate the price of the token because that's just not where the value of the company lies. The value of the company is with this platform that uses the Giddy token as part of the infrastructure.
Yeah, and we've seen this a few times. I won't name any particular celebrity names just in the last few days, but a few times in the last 12 to 18 months, you've seen companies hand over a chunk of tokens to a celebrity. The celebrity promotes the value of this random token for no apparent reason, and they forget to report, oh, by the way, they gave me some first. And so that's the last thing that we want to do as a company. We want to be the window into DeFi, Netscape browser. We want you to discover the beauty of the internet or discover the fun and beauty in DeFi and be a tool in your hands to do, not some crazy pump and dump scheme.
That makes a lot of sense. In the interest of time, we might have to move on to the next section.
Sounds good. Yeah.
But okay, next section is all about fundraising, right? It's going to be pretty short. In this section, could you guys give us maybe one unconventional fundraising tip for early stage founders that are building in Web3 or crypto that you think they don't really hear that often? So it's not, hey, tell a story behind your startup or batch all of your meetings into 2 weeks or something. But one thing you think is a little unconventional.
Go on a snowmobiling trip when invited. That's how I met our angel investor.
I love that. I think I'm going to tweet that actually.
Yeah.
Oh, and answer questions about impermanent loss on a public forum.
I don't know how much swearing you like or don't, but if I'm going to quote Kanye West, it's my life is dope and I do dope shit. Like the most unconventional thing I can recommend is just get stoked and do cool stuff. Investors want to see, okay, let me put it this way. Investors will invest in a founder before they invest in a product. If you have a mature business that's already making 10 million a year and there's lots of room for growth, that's easy. That's hardly early stage investment. That's growth. And there's a whole science and a formula to that. If you're at the seed stage, even the Series A stage or below, what investors want to see is a founder with passion, with conviction, with a network, with a skill set. The best thing you can do for yourself in terms of fundraising is get stoked and do cool stuff.
And even just build a bunch of, I had 6 bootstrapped companies before Giddy. Three of those I sold, 3 of those basically just failed. But that took me 10 years. This isn't something that happens overnight. And you got to bust ass.
I recognize that it sounds like trite advice. And the reason for that is because there's a whole ocean of information about VC, about fundraising that you have to know first. You have to read the books. You have to know the mechanics. You have to know what is IC, what is
what are LPs,
there's tons of mechanical things that you have to know. Those are table stakes because we're talking about unconventional things. Do all that work first and then be interesting.
That makes a lot of sense. The more interesting you are, the more noise you make. The more noise you make, the more people hear you, the more people reach out. Awesome. Now, I think we're just out of time for this episode. So as we wrap up here, you guys raised a round recently. Are you guys hiring? Is there anything you'd like to plug on the pod?
Absolutely. Yes. Giddy.co. I'm pretty sure at the bottom we have a list of open job recs, but we're always looking for backend engineers, blockchain engineers. There's some marketing roles we're looking to hire for, copywriting, ad placement. And then the other thing I would say is that we just barely wrapped up our private beta. We're opening up the open beta, which is where we take people off the current wait list. And so go get the app, Giddy.co. Go download the app. We'd love to hear from you. We have a full-time customer support person who is a little bit bored. Go talk to him. There's not enough people are coming to him with problems. Go talk to him. Let us know how it's going. Leave us a review. We're really open to chat. Oh yeah. All of our different socials and stuff, Twitter, Discord, and all that. We're at Giddy DeFi.
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. There you have it, folks. That was our second episode with Ethan Parker and Eric Parker. Ethan and Eric, thank you so much. This episode was great. I learned a lot. I hope our listeners learned a lot as well. Check these guys out at Giddy.co. Follow them on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Go download their app and make problems for them because their support people don't have enough problems.
Please. This is so much fun. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's it, folks. We'll catch you next time for the breakouts.
Thank you.
All right, and that wraps up today's episode. We really hope you enjoyed it. Now, just before I let you go, I wanted to reiterate one thing. We're trying to build the best podcast out there for aspiring entrepreneurs, and to do that, we need your help. The best way you can help us is by joining our Discord community. The link is in the description below, and then leaving us feedback. Tell us how we did. Tell us how we can improve. We're eagerly waiting to hear from you. Other than that, show us some love and follow us on Twitter at The Breakouts Pod. And I think that's everything I have for you. We'll see you next time on The Breakouts.